Commando Droid armor. The Separatist armies were filled with cheaply made B-1 and bulky B-2 battle droids, but every now and then, something far deadlier emerged onto the battlefield, the BX series Commando Droid. Unlike the brittle tin cans that fell apart after one or two blaster bolts, these sleek killers wore advanced composite plating. Their armor was lighter than the heavy Durasteel plates of super battle droids, yet paradoxically tougher, capable of shrugging off multiple direct shots while allowing them to flip, sprint, and climb with frightening agility. This meant they could perform precision missions, boarding enemy cruisers, infiltrating bases, or overwhelming clone squads in close quarters. To soldiers on the ground, facing one BX droid was like dueling a living nightmare, a mechanical assassin that refused to fall after the first blast. Still, their armor wasn't perfect. Sustained fire and lightsabers eventually cut them down, but the balance of resilience and maneuverability made them one of the Clone Wars' most efficient killing machines. Many Republic veterans whispered that if the Separatists had mass-produced more of these, the galaxy might have fallen much sooner. It's chilling to imagine entire platoons of these advanced droids marching through cities, their armor deflecting blaster fire while they cut through clone defenses like a scalpel through flesh. In the end, cost and practicality stopped the galaxy from facing that nightmare, but the legends of BX armor remain. Durasteel armor. The backbone of galactic industry, Durasteel wasn't flashy, but it was everywhere. Stronger than most alloys, durable under enormous pressure, and resistant to both kinetic strikes and blaster fire, it became the foundation of ships, weapons, and armor across the galaxy. Darth Vader's suit was layered with it, giving him the ability to withstand strikes that would kill most beings outright. General Grievous's cybernetic shell was constructed from a variant called Duranium, allowing him to duel Jedi in close quarters without falling apart. The weakness, of course, was lightsabers. Durasteel could not hold against repeated focused cuts, but its sheer availability made it invaluable. Clone armor, stormtrooper plating, ship hulls, most relied on Durasteel in some capacity. It wasn't the rarest or most glamorous armor, but without it, the galaxy's wars could never have been fought at such scale. In a way, Durasteel represents the working-class armor of Star Wars, functional, dependable, and unyielding until the moment a Jedi's blade carves through it like butter, and yet its presence was felt everywhere. Walk through Coruscant, Corellia, or even the backwater Outer Rim, and you'd find Durasteel holding up buildings, ships, and armor alike. Without it, the very skeleton of galactic civilization would crumble. It might not inspire awe, but it deserves respect. Ultrachrome armor. Gleaming like liquid silver, Ultrachrome was one of the few alloys capable of outright resisting lightsabers. Instead of breaking or burning, Ultrachrome dispersed the energy of the strike across its entire surface, spreading the heat and rendering the cut ineffective. For those who wore it, the first strike of a Jedi's blade often failed to penetrate, an immense psychological edge. This made it particularly valuable during the Old Republic era, when Jedi Knights were far more numerous. But Ultrachrome came with a flaw. If enough heat or energy lingered in one spot, the metal could melt entirely. That meant a lightsaber pressed firmly against it, or a concentrated energy weapon, could eventually break through. Even so, its rarity and strength made Ultrachrome a legendary defense. In Legends, the Emperor's Inquisitors were said to use it, and some scholars even suspect Captain Phasma's mirror-bright armor was crafted from an Ultrachrome variant. Its reflective surface didn't just look intimidating, it could dazzle enemies, reflecting battlefield chaos like a mirror. Against blasters, it bought soldiers precious seconds of survival. Against Jedi, it created hesitation. In a galaxy where seconds meant life or death, Ultrachrome armor was often the difference between becoming a casualty or walking away a legend. Vondune crab armor. The Yuuzhan Vong were unlike any foe the galaxy had ever faced, and their armor reflected that alien horror. Forged not from metal, but from living organisms, Vondune crab armor grew as an exoskeleton over its wearer, binding to them in symbiosis. The result was terrifying, an armor that actively adapted, shrugging off blaster bolts and even forcing Jedi to strike the same spot repeatedly with their lightsabers to carve through. Stronger still, it enhanced its host's physical strength, making the warrior beneath more brutal than before. The spiked shell could even be torn apart mid-battle and used as weapons. Darth Krayt, the Sith Lord centuries later, adopted the armor himself, proving its lasting, fearsome reputation. Yet its weaknesses were as alien as its origins. The crab's living gills left vulnerable points near the armpits, and Bafor tree pollen caused it to bloat and suffocate the wearer. Still, facing a warrior clad in Vondune crab armor was like dueling the galaxy itself, relentless, unpredictable, and alive. Few materials in Star Wars carried such a sense of unease because the armor itself wasn't lifeless. It pulsed, breathed, and reacted, turning combat into a grotesque dance of man and beast fused together. Orbalisk armor. Most armor shields you, this one consumes you. Orbalisk armor was not forged but grown, made up of parasitic creatures that latched onto their host, feeding on their pain and dark side energy. Once attached, they multiplied until they encased nearly the entire body, creating a living, pulsating suit of armor that was nearly indestructible. Lightsabers bounced off, blaster fire vanished into its shell, and the parasites even released chemicals that healed wounds and filled the host with surging adrenaline. Darth Bane, creator of the Rule of Two, famously allowed himself to be consumed by these creatures, wielding their grotesque protection as a weapon. The cost, however, was agony. The Orbalisk never stopped feeding, never stopped gnawing at the flesh beneath. Worse still, if one died, it injected lethal toxins into the host that could kill them in days. For anyone else, such armor would be a curse. For Bane, it was another tool of power, proof that true Sith turn even torment into strength. Imagine the sight. A Sith Lord advancing through fire and blaster bolts, covered in a living, writhing shell, every strike against him feeding the darkness within. It wasn't just armor, it was fear incarnate. Dark Trooper Frik armor. The Empire's Dark Trooper program was a fever dream of domination, creating mechanical super soldiers capable of crushing rebellion with unstoppable force. Phase 3. Dark Troopers, clad in rare Frik armor, were the pinnacle of this nightmare. Frik, an exotic alloy mined on distant worlds, resisted both lightsabers and blaster fire. Against these towering droids, Jedi found their sabers sparking uselessly off their golden-hued plating. Combined with devastating firepower and jet-assisted strength, each Dark Trooper was less a soldier and more a one-being army. But they were too expensive, too resource-intensive to produce at scale. The destruction of their manufacturing shipyard ended the project, relegating these walking tanks to legend. Still, whispers of their might endured. To face one was to understand futility. Shots vanished, sabers rebounded, and the towering machine just kept advancing until you were crushed beneath its indestructible fists. It's no wonder the Empire's enemies spoke of them in hushed tones. They weren't soldiers, they were nightmares given form, wrapped in armor so strong it turned war into slaughter. Mandalorian beskar armor. For the Mandalorians, armor is more than protection. It is their creed, their identity, their legacy. Forged from beskar or Mandalorian iron, their suits are sacred heirlooms passed down through generations. Pure beskar is among the galaxy's strongest materials, shrugging off blaster fire, explosions, and even direct lightsaber strikes. That resilience, combined with the ingenuity of Mandalorian weaponsmiths, made their warriors infamous across galactic history. Din Djarin's gleaming beskar plates, Boba Fett's reforged suit, ancient warriors like Clan Vizsla, all wore armor that turned them into legends. But beskar, for all its power, was not invincible. Repeated strikes from another beskar weapon or energy blasts from specialized weapons like the arc pulse generator could burn through. Still, Its near-mythical durability and deep cultural meaning ensured its place among the galaxy's greatest defenses, to where beskar was not just to be shielded, but to be Mandalorian, a living embodiment of war itself. And perhaps that's what made it so feared, because when you saw a warrior clad in beskar, you weren't just facing armor. You were facing centuries of culture, defiance, and battle-hardened tradition standing unbreakable against the galaxy. Cortosis weave armor. Few materials ever terrified Jedi quite like Cortosis. Unlike other metals, Cortosis did not simply resist lightsabers, it shut them down entirely. One clash against Cortosis armor and a lightsaber could short-circuit, leaving a Jedi suddenly defenseless. That ability made Cortosis immensely valuable and immensely rare. Mining it was a deadly ordeal. Its dust could kill on contact, and its ore resisted most tools. Yet across history, shadow troopers, assassins, and Sith alike sought it out to level the battlefield. Woven into armor, Cortosis turned every duel into a deadly gamble. One strike of the blade might mean victory, or it might mean your weapon flickered uselessly as your opponent advanced. Against blasters, Cortosis fared less impressively, but in the right hands, its power was unmatched. For those hunting Jedi, Cortosis wasn't just armor, it was the great equalizer, a promise that even the mightiest force wielder could bleed. The irony is that while it neutralized the most feared weapon in the galaxy, it remained too rare and too dangerous to mass produce, leaving it more myth than standard defense. Still, in whispered tales of Jedi hunters, Cortosis remains legendary. Zillo Beast armor. When the Galactic Republic unearthed the ancient Zillo Beast on Malastare, they discovered something terrifying. A living creature with scales so durable that even Anakin Skywalker's lightsaber could not pierce them. The beast shrugged off blaster cannons, artillery shells, even concentrated turbo laser fire. Its hide was the ultimate armor, one that made war machines look like toys. Palpatine immediately ordered scientists to study the scales, dreaming of replicating them for the Empire's troops. Imagine stormtroopers clad in Zillo hide, immune to Jedi and blasters alike. It would have rewritten galactic warfare, but the beast was killed before its secrets could be fully unlocked. Later, the Empire attempted cloning projects, proof that Palpatine never abandoned the vision. Though Zillo armor never became standard, its potential haunted military engineers for decades. Few armors inspire awe and dread, like the idea of wearing the hide of a creature that laughed in the face of an army. It was proof that nature could produce defenses so terrifying, even the most advanced civilizations were left scrambling for answers. The Zillo Beast's armor wasn't just protection, it was a nightmare for the future of warfare. Quantum-crystalline armor. At the very peak of armor, technology sits a material so absurdly powerful it defies belief: quantum-crystalline armor. Developed for the Suncrusher superweapon, this armor didn't just resist blasters or lightsabers, it survived the impossible. The Suncrusher endured turbo laser barrages without a scratch, tore through the bridge of a Star Destroyer as if it were paper, and even withstood the detonation of stars themselves. Entire supernovas could not destroy it. Han Solo once piloted the Suncrusher into the heart of a battle, shrugging off weapons that would have annihilated fleets, its crystalline skin glowing untouched. In truth, quantum crystalline armor was less protection and more godhood, granting invulnerability that no soldier, Jedi, or Sith could hope to match. Thankfully, it remained rare, confined to one weapon, because if armies had ever marched in it, the galaxy would have been unrecognizable. This was not armor, it was the closest Star Wars ever came to immortality. Legends say the only way it was finally destroyed was by plunging into a black hole. Anything less? It laughed off the galaxy's greatest weapons.